No problem.
Oh,
Are you going to Nehru?
Am I what?
Going to Nehru?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm not. You got to fend for yourself. Can't hold your hand. No.
So Austin in the middle of a giant heat wave is not enticing you enough?
You know, I wanted to go for the bat, but I just
Yeah.
couldn't force myself to do that.
Yeah.
Everybody here going? You going? Good. So great. My first NARUC meeting was the annual meeting in San Antonio in November, so it wasn't as, I won't say as bad as yours is going to be, because it'll be a wonderful conference.
Couldn't be as bad as Phoenix in July.
Oh, that was insane.
That was
Is there a way to keep in the room?
yeah, right.
I had to catch a, what do you call that thing, a golf cart from my room to the event, because by the time you got walked from your room to the conference center, you were like you had just left the pool.
My makeup kept running.
Good morning.
My hair was all poofy with the humidity.
The ones on top?
Yeah. All right, it is now past 10:15. All the commissioners are assembled here in the agenda room in Jefferson City. So we will call to order the agenda meeting for the Missouri Public Service Commission. Today is July 12th, 2023. And I want to remind everybody that is on the line to please mute your phones unless you are needing to speak so that everyone can hear. We do have 10 tariffs and new orders today. But before we dive into those, we need to approve the minutes from the June 28th, 2023 agenda. I do know those have been distributed in advance. Commissioners, do you have any changes, questions, or concerns about those minutes? Hearing none, then I would make motion we approve the minutes from the June 28th, 2023 agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Those minutes are approved by a vote of 5-0. All right, first up today, we have file number EO 2022-0320. This is the matter of the application of Jennifer Dutcher. Where's it, Dutcher? I forget.
Close enough.
Close enough. For Jennifer, for her change of electric supplier to Platte County Electric Cooperative from Evergy, Missouri, DBA Evergy, Missouri West. So, Jennifer, on the 18th of May, had filed an application requesting to change her electric supplier from Evergy, Missouri West to Platte County Electric Cooperative. Basically, her request centered on some reliability issues. Staff's memorandum explained that the primary circuit that was serving the property is owned by Platte Clay, and Evergy West owns the overhead fuse and all the equipment after it. So, thus, in any outage, Ms. Dutcher was contacted by, both companies. On June 28th, the signatories of Evergy, Missouri West, Ms. Dutcher and staff in Platte County all filed a stipulation and agreement. The agreement set forth that Platte Clay should be the sole provider of electric service at the subject property. No responses or objections to the agreement were filed, so therefore we can treat this as unanimous. So the Commission will find in this order that the request to change electric supplier is in the public interest for a reason other than rate differential, and finds that the request complies with the applicable statutes and regulations. And so this order will approve the change of supplier. And I would recommend we approve this order, version number 2. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holzman.
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Copeland.
And I as well.
Commissioner Hahn.
Also in support.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that is approved by a vote of 5-0. Number 2 today is in file number TO 2023-0436. This is in the matter of the investigation of Aristotle Unified Communications, LLC, related to the Connect America Fund Phase 2 auction. So back on June 22nd, staff of the Commission filed a motion asking the Commission to open an investigation regarding Aristotle Unified Communications broadband development milestones necessary to meet its obligations for receiving broadband funding obligations under the Federal Universal Services Fund. So back on February 2nd of 2019, Aristotle was granted eligible telecommunications carrier status by the Commission. And the staff states that it has reason to believe that Aristotle has not met its obligations after receiving several years of funding for deploying broadband services in Missouri. So staff has asked the commission to open this investigative file, and they have requested that the commission direct Aristotle to respond to various questions from staff. Staff explains that the FCC requires a state commission to annually certify that the ETCs remain eligible to receive federal support. And likewise, staff explains that failure of a company to receive annual certification from the state commission will stop a company from receiving federal support funding for the next calendar year. So what this order will do is it will grant staff's motion and directs Aristotle to respond to staff's questions. And I recommend we approve this order, version number 2. Commissioner Coleman.
I support that order indeed.
Commissioner Olson.
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Kochmeyer.
I'm as well.
Commissioner Hahn.
Also in support.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that order is approved by a vote of 5-0. File number GT 2023-0173. This is in the matter of the application of Liberty Utilities, or Mid-States Natural Gas Corp., DBA Liberty, MNG, to change its infrastructure system replacement surcharge. So on March 17th, Liberty had filed an application requesting that the commission authorize changes to its infrastructure system replacement surcharge. And on June 1st, staff of the commission filed its recommendation and memorandum, in which it recommended that the commission reject Liberty's tariff sheet, reestablish the prior ISRIS rates, and authorize Liberty to file an ISRIS rate for each customer class as reflected in staff's memorandum. On June 26th, Liberty filed its response in which they accepted staff's recommendation, and no other responses were received to Liberty's application or to staff's recommendation. So therefore, I recommend we approve this order, version number 3. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Great. Commissioner Olson.
I support the order.
Commissioner Kochmeyer.
I'm in support.
Commissioner Hahn.
Also in support.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That's approved by a vote of 5-0. Next up, we have file number WA-2023-0284. This is in the matter of the application of Confluence Rivers Utility Operating Company for certificate of convenience and necessity to provide water and sewer service in the area of Johnson County, Missouri. So back on March 14th, Confluence River Utility Operating Company filed an application seeking authority to acquire the water and sewer systems of the currently unregulated system of Four Seasons North MHP LLC, as well as a certificate of convenience and necessity to operate the Four Seasons system. On June 20th, the staff of the commission filed its recommendation in which they recommended the commission go ahead and grant Confluence Rivers the requested CCN subject to certain recommended conditions. On June 30th, Confluence Rivers filed its response stating it had no objection to staff's recommended conditions, and no other responses or objections to the application were received, and no other responses or objections to staff's recommendation were received. Confluence Rivers application promotes the public interest as well as the Four Seasons systems are in need of an operator due to the current owner's decision to sell, as well as needing maintenance and upgrades. Confluence Rivers has demonstrated the ability to provide safe and adequate service, which also supports a finding of promotion of the public interest. So therefore, this order does authorize the transfer of assets and grants Confluence Rivers a CCN to provide water and sewer service within the proposed service area, subject to the unopposed conditions that were prescribed by staff. And I would recommend we approve this order, version number 4. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holzman.
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Kochmeyer.
I support the order.
Commissioner Hahn.
I do support the order. Additionally, I'm in support of providing additional ways for customers to reach the company. I know that was a modification made through the different versions, by whether that's by phone, email, or website. In the future, I would really like to continue to look into customer experience by looking at hours that the company has to set so that someone is there to answer the phone or respond to customer inquiries, especially in this case because these are customers that have never had a charge before. So they'll be receiving a bill for water and sewer service for the first time. So this is the first of 2 on the docket today, but my comments will be roughly the same for both. So, thank you.
I think your messages should be very well received to the company. I know that we've had other local public hearings in cases of which they have been participant, where there's been suspect on the ability for customers to reach them. So starting out, you're spot on, Commissioner. These people have never really had a formalized system, and with upgrades to get their system up and where it needs to be to have safe and adequate water is going to come investment, which will come cost. And so the more communication the company can have with the customers and the ability to customers to reach a live person is in the company's best interest and the public's best interest. So I wholeheartedly echo and welcome those comments. Any other commissioners want? All right.
I support.
Excellent. All right. Well, hopefully the company will heed that. If not, we'll hear about it at the next local public hearing. So I would recommend that we go ahead and approve that version of order number 4. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is approved by a vote of 5-0. Next up is file number EO 2018-0211. This is in the matter of Union Electric Company, DBA Ameren, Missouri. This is their third filing to implement regulatory changes in furtherance of energy efficiency, also known as MEA. On June, or allowed by MEA. On June 12th, Ameren, Missouri filed its Ameren, Missouri Program Year 2022 Annual EM&V Report. On June 23rd, Evergreen Economics, who is contracted by the Commission to conduct an independent audit of the EM&V report, filed its independent EM&V audit of the Missouri Program Year 2022 program evaluations. No comments or changes requests were filed regarding either report. So therefore, this order accepts the EM&V and the audit reports for the program year 2022. I'd recommend we approve this order version number 1. Commissioner Coleman?
I support the order.
Commissioner Holzman?
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer?
I'm in support.
Commissioner Hahn?
Also in support.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, version number 1, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is approved by a vote of 5-0. Next up, our sixth file of the day is SA 2023-0215. In the matter of the application of Confluence Rivers Utility Operating Company, Inc., and Terry Jarrett, receiver for the Confluence Rivers, to obtain a certificate of convenience and necessity and to acquire certain sewer assets. So on January 4th, Confluence River Utility Operating Company, Inc., and Terry Jarrett, the receiver for the sewer system assets of Kenneth Yeager, located near the Lost Valley subdivision in Rawls County, Missouri, they filed an application for Confluence River to acquire the unpermitted sewer system assets of Kenneth Yeager, as well as the certificate of convenience and necessity for Confluence Rivers to go ahead and operate the system. On June 5th, staff filed a report and recommendation addressing the application as amended. Our staff recommends the Commission grant Confluence Rivers the requested CCN, subject to certain recommended conditions. On June 22nd, Confluence Rivers filed its response to staff's recommendation, in which it stated that, with one exception, it had no objection to staff's recommendation. No response to the suggested correction was filed. Therefore, the joint application promotes the public interest as the Lost Valley system is in court-appointed receivership and is also in need of upgrades. Confluence Rivers has demonstrated the ability to provide safe and adequate service, which also supports a finding of the promotion of the public interest. So therefore, this order authorizes the transfer of assets and grants Confluence Rivers a CCN to provide sewer service within the proposed service area, subject to the unopposed conditions described by staff as amended by Confluence Rivers. And I would recommend we approve this order, version number 3. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holzman.
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer.
I'm in support.
Commissioner Hahn.
Also in support of the order, just want to reiterate the previous points of these customers will now be receiving a $16.67 a month bill, where they had not previously been charged for this service. The system does need a significant amount of investment, roughly around $280,000. So I think, again, the customer service, the ability to have that customer service representative answer the phone to answer questions would be really helpful. So I'm thankful that we're including that, customer experience metrics in the order. Thank you.
Very good. Great. All those in favor of supporting that order in version number 3, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is approved by a vote of 5-0. Seventh order of the day is file number EO 2012-0135. This is in the matter of the application of Kansas City Power and Light Company for its authority to extend the transfer of function control of certain transmission assets to the Southwest Power Pool. On June 27th, Evergy, Missouri Metro and Evergy, Missouri West, the staff of the Commission and Dogwood Energy jointly filed a motion to modify the requirements in the May 16, 2013 stipulation and agreement approved in this case. So specifically, they asked the Commission to modify the stipulation and agreement to grant Evergy indefinite permission to participate in Southwest Power Pool with the condition that the Commission retains the authority to open further proceedings regarding Evergy's SPP participation. More than 10 days have elapsed since the motion was filed and no party has objected. I know this has been an issue that we have dealt with many times with this Commission, is about the public benefit of utilities participating in an ISO or an RTO, and should we have them do studies to demonstrate the fiscal benefit for the ratepayers. And I know that in the past those studies have been expensive, and so is why we don't want to make them have to do these studies all the time. It is important that the Commission does reserve the right to always look into whether or not the participation in the power pool, in this case Southwest Power Pool, is the best thing for customers, and reserving that right to always investigate that is something that this Commission should retain without having the company to go through an annual or biannual or triannual expense of presenting a report that justifies that. And I would be remiss if I did not bring up the comment that we bring up every time we talk about this. RTOs are Hotel California. Check in, but you can never leave. So, that being said, I would recommend we approve this order version number 1. Commissioner Coleman?
Welcome to Hotel California. I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Holzman?
I support the order.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer?
I'm in support.
Commissioner Hahn?
Also in support.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is approved by a vote of 5-0. Next up is file number WC 2022-0295. Staff of the Missouri Public Service Commission complainant versus I-70 Mobile City, Inc., DBA I-70 Mobile City Park respondent. So back on April 14th, the staff of the Commission filed a motion to compel I-70 Mobile City Park to respond to certain data requests. I-70 Mobile City Park asked that the Commission deny staff's motion and requested a hearing on its motion. The Commission held a hearing on staff's motion to compel on June 7th, where I-70 Mobile City Park explained some of its objections further. I-70 Mobile City Park stated there were 56 spots for tenants at the mobile home park. If all spots were occupied, it would result in 672 bills per year. I-70 Mobile City Park clarified that tenants are not mailed bills, but access their bills electronically. I-70 Mobile City Park cannot batch print bills, so I-70 Mobile City Park would have to access the electronic portal and print bills individually. An examination of staff's outstanding data requests showed that they are necessary to determine whether I-70 Mobile City Park is providing water and sewer services that would require Commission regulation, and also necessary to answer I-70 Mobile City Park's summary determination motion. So the Commission will order I-70 Mobile City Park to answer outstanding data requests as provided by the body of this order. And upon receipt of I-70 Mobile City Park's discovery information, staff shall inform the Commission whether the information provided is sufficient to the Commission, and may set a date by which the staff must answer I-70 Mobile City Park's outstanding summary determination motion. So I believe this order is drafted, instead of the 672 bills, I think this order is drafted where it is down to 50 bills.
150 is what it says. Or did they change it?
I think the order says 50. So I do not believe 50 is enough. I think in order to have a random sample, you got to have you have to sample size that is large enough that if you can catch any anomalies that are experienced. My concern is, yeah, I understand 672. We don't need that much, but I think 50 might not get us a statistically verifiable number. So I would be more in favor of bumping that, doing an amendment maybe to bump that up to 150 to try to get a large enough sample size that if they're randomly pulled would have a statistical valid response that we could extrapolate onto larger. So so that's kind of where I am at, and maybe we'll go around and kind of see if we need to do an amendment, or if 50 stands, or if people want to go higher or whatever. So, but that's kind of where I'm at on that. So, Commissioner Coleman.
I like the idea of an amendment. Actually, my thought was 200 would be a good number to start at. That's still leaving over 400, almost 500, that we could choose from, since they sent out 672 bills a year. So I like, and I can come to 150. I can go up higher, but I kind of like the 200 range.
Great. Commissioner Holden?
Well, for starters, the most important thing for me is that whatever number we land on, that they be allowed to be random. We had to have an order to get I-70 Mobile Park to comply, and we had to compel them to comply. So that suggests to me that we need to be thorough in our search here. And I think that if it is random, the number that we choose to, first off, I would ask, if it's electronic, why shouldn't the staff be granted access to the electronic bills, to where, as opposed to printing them off and having them provided, why couldn't they review them electronically, so we save the paper, and they could look at all of them if they chose to do so? That would be my first question as to, you know, if there's another alternative. But if that's not possible, and if the electronic version is not granted access to staff, I would like to hear from Commissioner Kolkmeyer and Commissioner Hahn on to what number they think. As long as it's random, 150 is 22% of 672. 50 is 7.5%. So, you know, I'd like to hear from Commissioner Kolkmeyer.
I don't believe the 50 is enough. I would support your 150, even the 200 is fine, because of the pushback that we've had from day one with this company.
Commissioner?
So I think that I'd like to take a step back for a second. All of the staff data, this is not the only subject at issue here, is the number of customer bills for this particular thing. So staff's request was initially all tenants and bills from January 2017 to present, all water bills that were received, used to calculate those bills, and then all lease agreements in effect. So if I'm putting myself in the shoes of the regulated public, in this case, the Mobile City Park, I can understand why they're hesitant to produce all of those records. Quite frankly, a fairly burdensome request from staff. Though I do think that there is an interest there in producing the number of records staff would need to make a good decision or a good recommendation. So in order to meet I-70 Mobile City Park where they are, and with the electronic systems that they have in place, to make this motion to compel achievable for them without a bunch of red tape, I still think that, you know, I'd like it to not be as big of a burden for them to produce the documents. and knowing that there are the other two layers of this that they also have to reduce in addition to these customer bills, I'm in support of the 50. I do think that if an anomaly was discovered, staff would again be able to request or compel additional discovery through the process that we have in place right now, which is they recommend, and we can support them in that recommendation if we think that there's a good reason there. So that being said, I'm not immovable. I want to work with you to come up with a good number, but the number of customer bills is not the only request we're making here, and I'd just like to make it achievable for the company to comply.
Sure. All right, so looks like we got a healthy discussion here, which is great. So I think from listening to, I think Commissioner Holzman is, if it is randomized, there has to be a sample size that is large enough, which, if it's random, it does bring the sample size number needed down. But I believe, and this is going back to stat classes, I think it has to be at least 10%.
57.5%. So 100 would be 14.8%.
Yeah, and I think if it's randomized, you can get a statistically valuable results, you know, if it, with a smaller sample size, if it's randomized. Because my concern would be if you did the 50 and they didn't find anything anomalous, then they might come, well, we didn't look at enough. But if you had one that is statistically verified, that's okay, randomly sampled, any anomaly should show up in this sample size if there is one, and if there isn't, then the staff could be like, okay, we're good. Versus if they can think that there is, you know, then
as long as the bills presented are random and the company isn't able to cherry pick which ones that they know are not manipulated, then, you know, you're going to find something within 15% of the search.
Yeah, and I think that in all honesty, I mean, this is from what the company has said. They just have to push print. I mean, it's just they go onto the portal, log in, push print. You know, if it's 150, if it's 100, I don't think that is that onerous of, you know, this is part of the being a regulated thing, and at times you have to provide documents and thing, and this is not something that we are asking, you know, regularly. This is before us and stuff. So I do recognize, yes, Commissioner Hahn, there is, you know, regulatory burden and what are we asking, and I think, you know some in the totality of everything we're asking, yeah, the number can come down. My just concern is I want it to be statistically valuable, and so
about 100.
100 would give us
14.8%.
Yeah, almost 15%.
Almost 15% of. And if you find something and they want to look at more, we can always allow them to look at more.
I think it has to be above 10, so I'm good with the 14 point at the 100. Yeah, Commissioner.
I agree. 14.8, 15%, as long as it's random.
I can go with that.
I'd be in support of that as well.
All right. So, Judge, can we do a verbal order amending that to 100 randomized bills?
Yes, I would change to read, that portion will change to read 100 randomly selected utility bills for tenants between June 2022 and June 2023.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make a motion that we adopt that amendment as verbally read by the judge to change it to 100 randomly selected between the time frames he just articulated. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Great. All those in favor of amending that order, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that amendment? Okay. We have adopted that verbal amendment to the order. So therefore, I would now move that we would recommend passage of version number 3 as amended. So it wouldn't be version 4, it'd be version 3 as amended? Correct. All right, very good. Now I make a motion that we approve version number 3 as amended. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great, that is adopted by a vote of 5-0. Very good, thank you for the discussion, Commissioners. Always like discussion. Okay. All right, next up, file number GR 2022-0136, the matter of Spire, Missouri, Inc., DBA Spire West, purchase gas adjustment, PGA tariff filing. The commission opened this file to receive the 2020-2021 purchase gas adjustment and actual cost adjustments filings of Spire. On June 28th, Spire and the commission staff and the Office of Public Counsel filed a proposed procedural schedule. So this order just adopts that procedural schedule proposed by the parties, and I would recommend that we approve this order, version number 1. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer.
And I do as well.
Commissioner Hahn.
Also in support.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, version number 1, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And that is approved by a vote of 5-0. This is our last one of the day, number 10. All right. File number WR-2023-0006. Matter of the Confluence Rivers Utility Operating Company Incorporated's request for authority to implement a general rate increase for water service and sewer service provided in Missouri service areas. So on June 26th, the staff of the commission filed its motion to compel, and on July 6th, Confluence Rivers filed its response to staff's motions to compel. At the issue are 2 data requests submitted by staff, DR 425 related to exit interviews and DR 231.1 related to board minutes. I believe staff's request for documentation related to the 2021 board meeting minutes meets the requirement of being reasonably calculated to lead to an admissible evidence. I believe the statements made to the Texas Commission and the approval of funding of Confluence Rivers, the allocation of costs, the setting of executive salary levels indicated a level of control by the U.S. water and or central states water resources beyond a mere investor and a more indicative of active management. On the other one, I believe staff's request for exit interviews is not reasonably calculated to lead to the discovery of admissible evidence. And so I believe that, in my opinion, we should deny staff's motion in regards to answer the DR 425 in response to the exit interviews. My thoughts on that are, these companies that come before us, we've always allowed them to operate and run their companies as they see fit, especially when it comes, to personnel and normal business operations. We do have, the right to look at the customer service and the rates and the things of that nature, but we've always allowed deference to the companies of which, this is your business, you are a private business and you run that. Yes, we regulate you, but I do not remember us getting into the weeds of employee exit interviews and getting into personnel issues. And I do not like the precedent that this might set that we would start delving into those areas. I understand that there is some concern on the customer service issues that we have heard in some of the local public hearings that have been brought up here on previous cases dealing with that. But I do not believe getting access to exit interviews of the company is the right way to go about looking for information regarding customer service issues. It does appear to be a little bit of a fishing expedition on behalf of maybe people that believe that there is something there and are looking for something possibly to find, but I am not comfortable with this as the avenue of which to do that. And so that being said, I also believe that these meeting materials that I mentioned earlier, that Confluence Rivers is in possession, they do have custody, they do have control, so they are able to easily provide those on the minutes. And so I am in favor of granting the motion in regards to answer DR 231.1, but I'm very curious to hear the thoughts and the comments of the other commissioners. So Commissioner Coleman.
That's option A, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I'm in support of option A. I don't think staff has proved that it's relevant or necessary to dig that deep into something that's not what we regulate. If a person, if the public, to me, thinks that there's information that a company, former employee has to put out. If it's that egregious, that employee can always go to the media. It's not our business to be telling companies, how to handle their personnel issues. So I support option A.
Commissioner Holden?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, we should stay in our lane, and I support option A.
Commissioner Copeland?
I concur.
Commissioner Hahn?
I do think that the intentions of the staff are probably, they're probably well-intentioned in making this request because they may be investigating whether or not the company is complying with previous commission orders, which we would be interested in this current rate case. They may be trying to understand that better as to what metrics are being kept to comply with those orders. And those extra interviews may reveal whether or not, in fact, that was occurring or not. I will go with the commission's decision on this to not get into personnel records, but I think that's what it seems like from looking at the case. That may be what staff are after, which I admire, them trying to further investigate this to the best of their ability and give us the most information possible. So, with that,
You can always ask, what's the worst that can happen? Is you're just told no.
I agree with Commissioner Hahn, that staff is probably doing it well-intentioned. It's just, if there's something there, the data should show in the case, so.
We know that our staff, the commission staff, is busy digging through a variety of very important information. And I feel that they would not have made this suggestion if they didn't think that there was a real reason. But in the end, we have to think about staying in our lane, as Commissioner Holtzman noted.
The one thing that this discussion is highlighting, that if I was the CEO of a company, must be some concern that is being shared by the commission staff, and even commissioners here at this table, about the customer service and the communication of which this company is putting out to the customers. The fact that we're considering opening up exit interviews to find information about how the company is communicating in its customer service should be a huge wake-up call to this company, that the level of concern on customer relations that has been heard in local public hearings is resonating. And is, even though we're not going to go to that level of the exit interviews,
Yes.
the mere fact,
Yes.
very true, the mere fact that this conversation is happening.
Should be a wake-up call
it
to
should.
all the companies
Yeah.
that we regulate.
Yeah.
Because we've had instances where, information comes to us and we try to stay in our lane and just do our work. But certainly there have been problems or concerns brought forth into the public regarding utility companies that come in our ears. But we try to do what we're supposed to do. Let them try to handle their business inside. But I agree with you. They should pay attention because that was loud and clear in the local public hearing.
Very much so.
And if you're not providing information, and if you are not communicating, someone else is going to drive that narrative. And it might not be the truth. It might not be factual. And so it is in the customer's best interest to have information that is in their thing. And it's also, it's in the company's best to make sure that the information that is floating around amongst their customers is factual and accurate. So yeah, great comments, Commissioner Coleman. So it looks like, Judge, we're in agreement on, there we are, on option A there. And so all those in favor of, I guess, option A of the order, this is version 1, option A, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great, then option A of version 1 was adopted 5-0. All right, I thought I saw an email with an updated schedule. All right, let's go with this one here. So, we have other discussion before we get into scheduling.
Gotta have some history.
It's actually on the agenda?
Of course it is. I was assigned to it.
Oh, that's right. No. I believe you volunteered last, I think I went and listened to it again, and it was pointed out that you had raised your hand to volunteer. And so we appreciate you stepping forward. For those on the phone, this time for our PSC history, and instead of, Jim Bush or Kim Mullen that's done it last week, we're passing it off, to the general counsel. So who are we gonna learn about today?
So I was interested in the beginnings of the commission, and when you go back to the annual reports, which are on our website, you can go all the way back. It's interesting that they actually say the name of the commissioner appointed, and they actually designate a profession beside them. And so the fifth commissioner appointed was Howard B. Shaw, and he actually came from the University of Missouri and was one of the deans of the engineering school and the 3 departments that basically set out the foundation of the engineering school going forward. He was an electrical engineer, and it appeared to me that there was a railroad expert first appointed, an electrical engineer, and then lawyers, but it seemed like the early commissions had to have an engineer, or didn't have to, but made a point of having an engineer always designated onto the commission. And so HB was also interesting because he was here 4 years, because early on it was a 2-year commissioner, 2 4-year commissioners, and 2 6-year commissioners. And he went on to, he had before and continued being the director of the Engineering Experiment Station. And so it was early innovation and creation and manufacturing and development. Think about it this way. He was an electrical engineer at the end of the 1800s and beginning of the 1900s when we were converting over. So the commission itself looked very different as well. Lots of telephone companies, lots of wires, electric is starting to come into play. So just random interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
H.B. Shaw?
H.B. Shaw, Howard
H.B.
B.
Shaw.
Do we know where they met, like where the original commissioners would convene?
So I think what I read was we were actually in the Supreme Court building in the very beginnings of the day, and I'm getting a head nod from Jim Bush. So that was our first home, was the Supreme Court building.
Fascinating.
That is fascinating. Well, thank you very much, Shelley. That was great, and it's officially part of the agenda. So finally, I can point to something and say, "Look, we did something cool."
That is really sad.
I know. So I mean, the staff, you guys are great. All the division directors, you've been great. I don't think we should just let you guys have all the fun. I think maybe us commissioners should get in on the fun. And so how about next week?
Oh, no.
I'll pick a commissioner, and we'll present something from the history. So by saying I, I mean Alex. So
and whoever you pick.
You up for it, Alex? Woo-hoo! All right, we will take next week. We will take next week and stuff. But that was wonderful. This has been great. So.
I feel like I'm about to be voluntold.
Yeah. It'll well, we'll give you a few weeks to kind of get ready.
But if you need anything, text me or whatever.
Yeah, usually I have to have help with some sort of.
Sounds like somebody on the phone wants to volunteer. All right, we'll head into scheduling, and then we'll adjourn here. Looks like on Sunday, July 16th. Hey guys, whoever's on the phone, you're unmuted, so we can hear your conversation.
For my house down, because Steve's pest control is coming at 9 in the morning.
Well, that's good.
Take care of all of that.
All right.
All right.
There you go.
All right, very good, excellent. So Sunday, July 16th to Wednesday, July 19th, we have our National Association Summer Policy Summit. And on Monday, July 17th, we have an evidentiary hearing in EC 2023-0281. That is Charles A. Harder complainant versus Union Electric Company, DBA Ameren, Missouri, respondent. That will be in the Wainwright office building in St. Louis, Suite 105, starting at 10 a.m. with Judge Keeling presiding.
I'm gonna be there. Where's Judge Keeling? I thought he was there.
All right.
I'll
Very
be
good.
there, Judge Keeling.
Thank you. And on Thursday, July 20th, we have agenda at 10:15. The same day, we also have a rulemaking hearing in AX 2023-0175. That is OPC and staff's proposed rulemaking to promulgate a new rule regarding a residential customer disconnection data reporting rule. And that is going to be in room 310, the commission headquarters at 9 a.m. with Judge Clark. And on Friday, the 21st of July, we have an evidentiary hearing in WC 2021-0227, Sarah Nangle complainant versus a Missouri American Water Company respondent. That will be a WebEx-only hearing at 9 a.m. with Judge Clark. And on Tuesday, the 25th, going through Wednesday, the 26th, we have an evidentiary hearing in GR 2021-0127, which is Spire, Missouri, Inc., DBA Spire East, Purchase Gas Adjustment PGA tariff filing. That'll be in the Governor's Office building here in Jefferson City, room 310, at 9 a.m. with Judge Clark. And that is from the 25th scheduled into the 26th. Also on the 26th, we have agenda at 10:15 a.m. And on Wednesday, August 2nd, we have agenda at 10:15 a.m. Wednesday, August 9th, we have agenda at 10:15 a.m. Then on Thursday, August 10th, running through Friday, August 11th, we have an evidentiary hearing in WR 2023-0006, Confluence Rivers Utility Operating Company, Inc.'s request for authority to implement a general rate increase for water service and sewer service provided in Missouri service areas. And that will be at the headquarters of the PSC Governor's Office Building, room 310, at 9 a.m. with Judge Hatcher. Did I miss anything or any corrections or anything on schedule? All right, well, hearing no other discussion, I would move that we stand adjourned. Thank you, Commissioners, for a great discussion today.
Thank
We are
you.
adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman.